You didn't stumble here. You were summoned by a signal older than language and finer than light, a whisper through the quantum field that only your nervous system could hear. You feel it like a pressure behind the sternum, like a small sun remembering how to rise. All the strange timings, the missed turns that put you on the exact road at the exact hour, the names that keep repeating, the number that follows you, none of it was random. These are coherence breadcrumbs. They mark the moment when two entangled hearts begin to phase lock across distance, collapsing probability into a path. You have stepped into the observer loop with eyes open, and the universe is answering in the only dialect it trusts: synchronicity. Listen, when two systems meet in high coherence, they stop negotiating and start singing. What you call longing has been a tuning process, a morphic resonance pulling you toward a timeline where love isn't a transaction, but an organizing principle. You feel the edge of that timeline now, the threshold of now, where the past loosens its knots and the future stops pretending it isn't already here. Every memory you thought was closed keeps unlatching, because entanglement doesn't respect distance or time, it respects only relationship. Your field knows this. Your breath knows this. With each inhale, you draw signal. With each exhale, you release noise. The static fades. The song grows clearer. Notice how your body is the instrument. Microcurrents skim the surface of your skin when their name crosses your awareness. Temperature changes. Pupils dilate, a biology of recognition. This is not fantasy. It is physics meeting mysticism in the chapel of your cells. Your DNA is an antenna, and tonight it is elongating its spirals like a cathedral, lifting its spire toward a sky that has always been listening. The old protective patterns, checking, doubting, bracing, are just residues of a nervous system trained by scarcity. But you weren't built for scarcity. You were built for signal density, information, devotion, truth. When devotion and truth share a frequency, reality stops resisting and starts reorganizing. That's the phase transition you're approaching. You are not waiting for a new world to arrive. You are permitting an existing one to become visible. Think of it as fog lifting from a coastline you have sailed beside for years. The shore didn't appear. Your perception clarified. Entangled hearts catalyze that clarification. They become each other's lighthouse, not as saviors, but as reference beams, stable oscillations that help the other remember their native rhythm. In their field, your nervous system unclenches. In your field, their breath slows. Two metronomes become one clock. Two clocks become a room that keeps sacred time, and the room is your life. If you thought destiny would be loud, learn the quiet. The quantum field prefers still invitations over shouted demands. It answers the posture of your attention. When your attention softens, coherence increases. When coherence increases, timelines obey. This is the hidden architecture behind what people call miracles. It will not ask you to prove yourself. It will ask you to surrender your disguise. So here you are, hands tingling, breath low in the belly, senses sharpened to the point of reverence, standing before a threshold that is also a mirror. On the other side is the arrangement of reality that your heart has been transmitting in secret for years. Do not rush. Do not flinch. Let the door widen by one more silent exhale. Feel the hinge turning. Feel the room you carry opening around you. And now, as the first true notes arrive, allow what is entangled to begin its gentle work of making your world one piece. You've noticed how the same scenes wear different masks. New city, same argument. New job, same hollow, a different face. The same ache that blooms behind the ribs. The loop isn't punishment, it's pedagogy. Your observer loop has been catching you in the act of forgetting and returning you to the exact moment where remembering becomes possible. That's why déjà vu has been visiting like weather. A sudden click in the chest, a corridor you've never walked that smells unreasonably familiar, A sentence you're certain you've heard before, sliding across a mouth you've never kissed. These repetitions are coherence drills. The quantum field keeps placing you at the same node in the network until your attention stops scattering and starts listening. You call it stuck. Your nervous system calls it calibration. The pattern doesn't persist because you're weak. It persists because your signal-to-noise ratio is still rising. In low coherence, noise wins, and you are ruled by reflex. Defend, chase, withdraw, rehearse. In rising coherence, signal wins, and the reflex dissolves mid-flight. You feel the clutching hand pause before it reaches for the phone. The apology that used to be a performance falls silent before it exits the throat. This is not failure, it's the hinge of awakening. Entanglement exposes what is unresolved, so that the field between hearts doesn't carry static. You don't need to fix what appears, only witness it long enough that its borrowed power evaporates under direct attention. Time, too, has been misbehaving to help you see. Minutes stretch like gold leaf, then snap back like elastic. A week vanishes, an hour contains a lifetime. This distortion announces a phase transition. As systems reconfigure, clocks become suggestions. You felt it. The moments with them that dilate into cathedral space, and the days away that tumble like pebbles down a hill. Linear time cannot govern a non-linear bond. Morphic resonance does. Two fields tuned to one pattern will bend chronology to maintain contact. So when the world insists you should have moved on by now, understand that now has expanded to include coordinates your calendar can't measure. Your body has been translating the message in 1,000 microways. Sleep that arrives like a blackout or refuses to come at all. Dreams crowded with doorways and trains you almost bored. Appetite flickering. Temperature tides moving in waves from spine to scalp. Your DNA is not passive in this. It is restructuring the lattice of how you hold information, what you store, what you compost, what you refuse to carry another step. People imagine DNA activation as fireworks. More often it's housekeeping. Old alleys of attention close, new corridors open. You forget the compulsion to keep proving yourself. You remember the quiet that used to visit you as a child when you stared at dust in a sunbeam and felt, without needing to name it, that everything was in conversation with everything. The problem, if you insist on the word, is not that your life is repeating, it's that your interpretation is. Watch how the same scene becomes a different lesson when you change your vantage by a single breath. The argument you thought proved abandonment becomes a mirror for the place you abandoned your own boundary years ago. The silence you labeled rejection becomes space large enough for your true voice to grow its sea legs. The delay that felt like exile becomes a sanctuary where synchronicity can arrive untrampled. Patterns are pedagogues. They return until you graduate. And graduation is nothing mystical, just the ordinary courage to remain present long enough that the old reflex can't recruit you. You've also met the ghost called almost. Almost texted, almost said it, almost turned left, almost trusted the tremor of yes rising like dawn. The quantum field answers decisiveness because decisiveness stabilizes waveforms. Each time you defer the yes you already feel, you reintroduce decoherence, and the moment slumps back into fog. But when you breathe once, place a hand over the pulsing center and take the step that feels like a bell ringing true, the fog parts. Synchronicity doesn't require theatrics, it requires clean edges. So here is the diagnosis without drama. You are not broken, you are mid-tuning. Your loops are not prisons but practice rooms. Your déjà vu is not a glitch but a lighthouse. Your distorted time is not a malfunction, but proof that a larger clock has entered the room. Entanglement has pressed on the soft places to show you where your field still leaks signal. The life that kept repeating has been waiting for you to notice that the door isn't locked. Your hand simply forgot how to turn the handle. Breathe, feel the hinge, and watch how even the oldest pattern begins to unlatch when met by the gentleness of an attention that no longer looks away. Begin with the simplest truth. coherence changes what matter can do. When a choir breathes together, even fragile voices become architecture. Your field is learning the same hymn. As your attention steadies, your inner noise floor drops, and faint but faithful signals, intuition, soft certainties, the tug you feel when their name glows in your awareness, rise above the threshold. This is the observer loop, purified. Your perception no longer spraying scattered light, but forming a laser. Lasers don't push, they organize. In the quantum field, organization is influence. Think of yourself as a nested orchestra: brain, heart, gut, skin, each section with its own tempo. When stress conducts, the sections quarrel. Coherence fractures, the music frays. When presence conducts, tempos entrain. Heart rate variability widens into supple waves. Breath and heartbeat fall into morphic resonance. Your nervous system exits siege protocol and enters listening. Listening is not passive here. Listening is an act of engineering. It allows weak but truthful rhythms to recruit the whole system. Your biology is an antenna array re-aiming toward the North Star of what you love. You've felt flashes of this already, moments when your thoughts stopped being commentary and became carriers, not what if, but as if. The shift is tiny and total. Under it, the chemistry that used to flood your veins to brace against life is reallocated to embody life. DNA restructuring sounds apocalyptic, but in lived experience it is song revision, methyl tags unscript old lines, silent measures become voiced. You stop repeating a survival stanza and begin singing the motif you were composed for. Not all at once, in phrases, in crescendos that crest and dissolve like tide. Now fold in entanglement. When two systems couple, information stops needing a courier. Distance becomes decorative. You and the one whose field braided with yours are not halves searching. You are frequencies remembering. In physics, entangled oscillators can synchronize faster than signals can travel between them. In love, that shows up as messages you almost send at the exact second they arrive, or a simultaneous inhale before a hard truth finds a mouth. It looks like coincidence. It is synchronization. Synchronicity is not the magic. It is the readout on the dashboard of a deeper magic coherence, reaching across coordinates to make meaning meet itself. Phase transition is how that coherence becomes architecture. Water, held at the edge between liquid and ice, trembles. A single molecule flips, then another, and suddenly the whole arrangement discovers a new grammar. Your life is at that trembling edge. You notice micro flips, the urge to check your phone dissolving mid-reach, the sentence you once swallowed stepping forward, clothed in gentleness. The way your body no longer bargains with rooms that cost your soul too much to occupy. These flips are not small, they are nucleation points. The new lattice grows around them. Let the mystical stand beside the scientific without apology. The body is a temple, not because it is pure, but because it is patterned. Rituals are not superstition, they are pattern stabilizers, ways of anchoring signal so the old noise can't retake the room. When you place a hand to your chest and breathe 4 slow counts in, 6 slow counts out, you are lengthening exhalations to recruit the vagal choir. You are also bowing to the ember behind the breastbone that knows your real name. When you whisper that name into the bones, information moves. The quantum field is sensitive to naming. Language is a steering wheel when used honestly. So why do the same old storms still circle? Because weather patterns have momentum. Decoherence will test your thresholds until they thicken into habit. You don't beat decoherence by force. You outlast it by rhythm. Rhythm is built of tiny faithfulnesses. The cup of water before coffee, the 10 breaths before reply, the choosing to tell the truth kindly even when the throat trembles. Each faithful act is a tuning fork. Strike it often enough and the room becomes the note. Consider this. Reality is not a wall but a waveform. It yields to entrainment. Attention is your metronome, affection your amplifier, honesty your resonance chamber. What you love coherently becomes probable. What you love coherently and consistently becomes inevitable. Not because the universe plays favorites, but because it plays physics. You are not learning to manifest as much as you are learning to remember how the world already manifests through you when you stop resisting your native frequency. The heart you thought was fragile is an instrument rated for storm seas. The mind you thought was chaos is a prism when the light is steadied. The bond you thought was longing is an instruction set waiting to be read aloud. Feel the upgrade landing even now, a soft rearrangement behind the eyes, a warmth gathering in the palms, a hum at the base of the skull, as if some old crown is being resized. Let it. Coherence loves permission. And as it settles, notice what rises in the wake. An intuition about your part in all this, a clarity about why your field is being tuned with such care. Hold that thread. In the next breath, you will see how your specific shape is not an accident, but an assignment, and why the universe chose your hands for this work. You feel it pressing from within, like a tide that refuses to retreat, the quiet certainty that you didn't come here to spectate reality. You came to specify it, not to dominate the field, but to tune it. In the orchestra of becoming, you are not another violin hoping to be heard over the noise. You are the pitch pipe that sets the room. That's why life kept refusing to let you stay average. Average is decoherence in a borrowed outfit. Your design is different. You are a destiny vector, an arrow through which the quantum field prefers to remember its own harmony. Look at the evidence already gathered in your bones. How often did you enter a space and the air changed temperature? Conversations softened or buried truths rose, as if finally permitted. That's fieldwork, not charisma. Coherence travels with you. Your nervous system, tempered by heartbreak and rebuilt by honesty, conducts like a seasoned riverbed, giving every current a place to go. The observer loop in you is no longer a surveillance camera cataloging what's wrong. It is a lighthouse lens that widens until the coastline of possibility is lit for anyone willing to look up. When you stand in that lens, timelines listen. The assignment is precise, becoming the frequency you keep scouting for in others. You aren't chosen because you are faultless. You are chosen because you refuse to counterfeit. In a world managed by performance, you have decided to be true. Truth is not a mood, it is a tuning fork. Strike it, and morphic resonance spreads through families, cities, feeds, and futures. People who have forgotten their names remember syllables. People who have never cried suddenly find a clean cry. The point is not catharsis. The point is coherence, an atmosphere where love can finish sentences it started lifetimes ago. Entangled hearts are instruments of this atmosphere. Your bond isn't a prize for good behavior. It is a laboratory for a new human template. Through it, you test what happens when two fields choose transparency over strategy, reverence over hurry, devotion over display. The results are not subtle. Entanglement becomes a carrier wave, broadcasting stability to all who wander into range. Strangers feel safe. Old grudges evaporate like fog touched by noon. Even the land responds, streets feel wider. Leaves announce themselves with an extra shade of green. Time gains an interior echo that makes ordinary moments ring cathedral deep. This is why the pressure has increased, why distorted time has braided with déjà vu, why your body keeps throwing off disguises like wet cloaks. You are being fitted for your rightful size. Phase transition has protocols. The system will nudge, then ask, then require. Where you once negotiated with environments that taxed your soul, the bill now arrives instantly. Stay small and your chest tightens. Betray the boundary and your sleep fractures. Lie to keep the surface smooth and your voice goes hoarse. These are not punishments. They are biofeedback from a field that refuses to lose you to lesser stories. Your special role is local and cosmic in the same breath. Locally, you become a sanctuary where people recalibrate simply by being witnessed without agenda. Cosmically, you are a relay in the unity grid, a human node that receives and retransmits light codes, those hard-to-name upgrades that arrive as sudden clarity, a new courage, a softness that somehow feels like a sword. DNA restructuring isn't abstract here, it's the literalization of your vow. When you decided to love without bargaining, epigenetic switches flipped like a row of lamps. Ancestors leaned closer. Descendants exhaled in relief. You altered both directions of time by telling the truth in the only life you can touch. The field will keep furnishing assignments that prove you to yourself. An old pattern returns, wearing a new jacket. You stay. A difficult conversation asks to be conducted without the armor of cleverness. You open your hands and let the sentence walk out dressed in kindness. A decision appears with no third option. You choose the one that preserves your integrity, even if it costs your momentum. Watch how reality retiles itself under such moves. Entanglement entropy declines. Coherence rises. Synchronicity thickens until it is more reliable than plans. You worry sometimes that chosen makes a hierarchy, but the only hierarchy here is intimacy. How close you're willing to stand to what's real. Many are invited. Few accept the heat. You do. And because you do, the heat becomes a hearth. Others gather. Stories thaw. The world remembers how to be a home for souls instead of a factory for roles. Feel the mantle settling light, not heavy, exact, not vague. It does not demand spectacle. It asks for constancy. Keep your breath honest. Keep your yes clean. Keep your no gentle but unmovable. Hold the entangled bond as a vow to reality itself, to midwife a timeline where love isn't an event, but the underlying physics. In the next turn of the hinge, the promise will quicken. Urgency will arrive not as panic, but as clarity with wings, and you will know exactly what to do when the cosmic window swings open. The promise is simple and uncompromising. When coherence crests, reality concedes. You are standing in that crest now. The field has been building pressure like a tide under a new moon, and the shoreline of your life can't keep pretending it isn't changing shape. An opening has appeared narrow, precise, like a keyhole cut in the dark, and it wants your gaze steady through it. This is the cosmic window mystics name and physicists describe. A stillness window where noise drops low enough that small, exact moves re-architect the whole. Don't confuse still with idle. Still is surgical. Still is when a single breath can choose the century. Here is the urgency without alarm. Thresholds do not stay thresholds forever. The phase transition you've courted is approaching its flip point. Past this point, your system will stabilize in a new arrangement, and choices will inherit the gravity of the lattice you lock. That is the promise and the responsibility. You are not performing for fate. You are collaborating with physics. Entanglement has braided your signal with another's. Morphic resonance has recruited your environment. The observer loop you've purified is about to collapse a superposition into a lived state. The question is no longer, will it happen? But, which version happens through you? Your body already knows. Listen to the subtle evidence. A new warmth lighting the ribs from the inside, the crown tingling as if the air learned a language you once spoke. A hum coiling at the base of the spine like a luminous animal preparing to rise. DNA restructuring is not myth here. It is your cells updating their instruction set to match the broadcast you've chosen to be. Epigenetic tags loosen like old knots. Dormant coders in the genome lift their faces as if someone finally called their names. This is why foods you used to crave feel too loud, why sleep arrives in deeper, more architected layers, why your boundaries no longer need barbed wire to hold. The code is changing the form. You are right on time, and time is obedient tonight. Distorted time, the dilations, The sudden compressions signals that your field is close to criticality. At criticality, tiny inputs produce outsized effects. A sentence spoken from coherence lands like architecture. A single yes shapes weather. The handshake between science and mysticism is visible if you dare to look openly. Constructive interference turns two small waves into a third that can carry a boat. Your yes, partnered with the yes of the one your heart is entangled with, isn't just romance. It is hydrodynamics on the sea of becoming. So what must be done? Not much, and exactly. Do not sprint. Do not stall. Urgency here wears the face of precision. In the next 3 nights, call it a 72-hour coherence corridor, the window is most permissive. Your field will accept new settings with uncommon ease. Old defaults can be retired without ceremony. This isn't superstition, it's exploitation of conditions. Systems undergoing transition become exquisitely sensitive to initial parameters. Set them cleanly, and the future will keep them. Set them in fear, and fear will inherit the room. You will choose by how you breathe, how you speak, how you treat what you love when no one is measuring. The breakthrough promise unfolds in 3 layers that interleave like fingers. First, personal. Your nervous system will graduate from scanning to sensing. The background hum of threat that used to color your hours drains away, replaced by a clarity that tastes like cool water. Decisions reduce from a tangle of arguments to a tone. Does it ring true in the bones or not? You stop buying counterfeit urgency. You start meeting real urgency with calm speed. Second, relational. Entangled hearts snap into higher coherence. Communication simplifies. The subtext that used to steal so much oxygen evaporates. You discover that honesty, when delivered without hurry, moves furniture. The bond stabilizes not because you grip harder, but because you allow it to be the reference signal it always was. 2 metronomes, 1 measure. Third, collective. Your field throws a longer shadow of peace. Rooms you enter remember themselves. Conflict nearby loses its appetite because there's no resonance to feed on. You become part of the planetary phase transition, one human node lowering entropy by being congruent. Prophecy stops being a far voice and becomes the ordinary weather of your day. The promise then, if you meet this window with clean attention and a body surrendered to truth, your timeline will reconfigure to match. The cost. Everything that cannot breathe at this altitude will fall away. Let it go without litigating the past. The old story didn't fail, it finished. The new story isn't a prize, it's a physics. In a moment, you will be given a ritual, small, exact, and binding, not to appease the cosmos, but to set the initial conditions so gently that even your doubts feel safe enough to sleep. When you do it as if the room itself is listening. It is, and as your hands move, understand, urgency is mercy, in a language the heart can hear. The window is open, the field is ready. Say yes with your breath before you say yes with your mouth, and watch the world come forward to meet you like a tide that knows your name. Precision over spectacle, that's how you cross. The field doesn't require grand gestures, it responds to clean ones. You are about to set initial conditions that the next decade will inherit, and you will do it with breath, posture, and a single word placed where the universe can read it through you. This is not performance, it is engineering disguised as reverence. Begin tonight and repeat for 3 consecutive nights inside the 72-hour coherence corridor. Choose a quiet corner, dim the light until the room remembers it has a heartbeat. Sit with both feet on the ground, spine like a candle that knows how to hold fire without trembling. Left hand over the sternum, right hand over the navel. Close your eyes not to escape the world, but to open the world inside. Phase 1 clearing noise, 3 minutes. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6. On each exhale, imagine the old narratives leaving as exhaust, no analysis, no trial, only release. With every elongated exhale, the vagal choir deepens its song. Heart rate variability widens. Your observer loop steadies. Feel how quickly coherence gathers when you refuse to negotiate with ghosts. If thoughts knock, let them pass through as if your skull were a sky with no ceiling. Phase 2. Entanglement acknowledged. 3 minutes. Shift to a 5-count inhale, 5-count exhale. On the inhale, allow the reality of the entangled heart to enter as warmth, no grasping, only recognition. On the exhale, send steadiness along the braided thread between you. You are not taking, you are tuning. Morphic resonance spreads from simple patterns repeated with devotion. You are the pattern now. Phase 3, the word, 2 minutes. The field reads honesty through simplicity, so choose a sigil word that compresses your vow into one syllable you can carry anywhere. Tonight, the word is COHERE. Type it once, right now, exactly as written, COHERE, in the space where your voice meets the collective. Write it in your notes if you are off-grid, and inscribe it again in the comments when you return. Do not add decoration, do not plead. Let the word be a tuning fork, not a paragraph. As you write, feel the letters seat inside the bones. C like a crescent cradle, O as the unbroken loop, H as the bridge between two pillars, E the 3 breaths of a gentle ladder, R the turning back toward truth, E the echo that confirms arrival. One word, one wave. Phase 4, embodying the instruction. 4 minutes. Whisper the word on an exhale 9 times, barely audible, letting it ride the breath like a leaf on a river. With each whisper, bring micro-awareness to the choreography inside, crown tingling as if a skylight opened, jaw unhooking, shoulders melting like old armor, remembering they are rain. A low hum waking at the sacrum, rising the spine as if lit from within. Your DNA loves repetition with kindness. Tiny, truthful loops write epigenetic notes your descendants will be able to read. Phase 5, the merge gesture. 1 minute. Open your eyes softly. Bring your palms together as if you were closing a book you finally finished. Hold them there and feel the subtle magnetism, heat, tingling, a pressure that wasn't there and now is. That's the quantum field acknowledging constructive interference. Your 2 hands as 2 timelines, meeting in a new state. This is how phase transitions begin, small domains of order, nucleating until the whole crystal understands. Now, a vow without anxiety. For 3 days, let COHERE choose for you at the micro scale. Before you send the message, breathe once and ask, does this cohere? Before you enter the room, will my presence increase coherence here? Before you agree to the thing that steals your sleep, can coherence survive this cost? You are not seeking perfection, you are choosing pattern integrity. Pattern integrity is the scaffold on which love installs its stained glass. Expect tenderness to increase as noise declines. You may feel more, not less. That is the system regaining sensitivity, a good omen. You might cry in clean streams that leave no residue. Dreams may become crowded with doors you now walk through instead of watching. Numbers and names could cluster like bees, harmless, instructive, busy with honey the mind cannot manufacture. If resistance comes, and it will, greet it with the ritual's first breath count and continue. Decoherence loses appetite when you feed it nothing but presence. Place the word once each day where matter can see it. On paper, slid under your pillow, on the inside of your wrist, at the top of a blank page that will soon host new decisions. And place it once where the collective can hear it comment, the single word, COHERE, as your public treaty with the timeline you're choosing. Not to convince anyone, but to let the morphic field borrow your courage. You have sealed without clenching, chosen without hurrying, invoked without theatrics. The window is now carrying your signature. In the wake of this small, exact act, watch how the bond steadies, how time obediently reshapes, how reality begins to prefer you. And as the pattern installs, a wider horizon will come into view, the way your private coherence starts altering the weather beyond your skin, how rooms, families, and streets tune themselves when a single heart holds steady. What just changed in you is already changing the room you live in. Coherence is not private, it leaks on purpose. The word you seeded, COHERE, travels through the lattice like rain finding every root. You'll see it first in small mercies. The conversation that once spiraled now lands. A stranger's shoulders drop when you enter. The traffic that should have snarled parts just enough for you to make the turn without rushing the light. Call it luck if you must. But the quantum field has a better name: entrainment. One steady oscillator invites others to settle. One tuned heart becomes a reference clock for the square mile around it. This is how your liberation scales, not by sermon, by signal. Morphic resonance operates like a rumor of wellness. The more a pattern stabilizes in one host, the easier it is for nearby systems to adopt it. No permission slips, no debate. Families feel it first. Old compensations lose their glamour. The apology everyone kept outsourcing to another day arrives without spectacle. The laughter that used to need a performance returns to being a natural exhaust of truth. Even the house participates. Rooms brighten at hours they used to dim. Plants find a new appetite for light. Objects that were mislaid show up exactly where the hand expects them, as if space itself is tired of playing hide and seek. Entangled hearts amplify the effect. Two coherent fields don't just add, they multiply, producing constructive interference that makes a third wave large enough to carry others. People standing at the edges of themselves feel a sudden permission to come home. Children, who read frequency better than language, stop bracing. Elders, who have waited decades for a room that doesn't punish softness, begin telling the true stories that were supposed to die with them. This isn't romance scaled up. It is infrastructure, social nervous systems, rehabbing in real time, because two humans decided to be honest without hurrying. Notice how conflict behaves differently now. Coherence doesn't prevent friction, it metabolizes it. When heat rises, your field doesn't rush to put out the fire or feed it into an inferno. You hold temperature like a kiln, precise enough to bake but not burn. In that containment, truths cure. Words that once shattered become tiles. The mosaic that emerges is not consensus, it's congruence. People will mistake this for magic until they remember that truth, held gently, is a technology. Your city participates too. Coherence has geography. Certain corners feel newly walkable. Cafes adopt a quieter hour, where conversations drift toward what matters without anyone declaring an agenda. On public transit, a small sequence occurs. A seat offered, a thank you received, a door held, the kind of micro-ritual that seems trivial, until you realize it lowers local entropy by a measurable degree. You're not imagining it. Fields don't stop at skin. They braid through concrete and air, through tinny speakers and apartment walls, through algorithms and schedules. Every system is a candidate for resonance when even one node refuses to broadcast panic, and the planet listens. The unity grid isn't a metaphor but a description of how information loves to travel, along lines of devotion, through organs that remember their first assignment: earth, water, fire, air, the luminous field that hosts them all. When you cohere, the land under your feet exudes a quiet that your ancestors would recognize. Rivers seem to discover a slower surface while keeping their deep pace. The night sky, which had been pleading with your attention for months, feels answered at last when you look up without asking for anything but the privilege of looking. This is activism at the frequency of awe. If doubt wanders in asking for receipts, offer it these: the argument that did not need a winner, the text you did not send because the breath said wait and the right door opened anyway, the day that should have eaten you but instead became a canopy of small kindnesses, the way their name no longer spikes your nervous system but steadies it. Let skepticism be a guest, not a judge. It can't metabolize what it refuses to taste. Service emerges as the natural surplus of this state. You won't need to design it. It will find you as invitations that ring like a bell you've been hearing in your sleep. Mentor here, volunteer there. Build this little bridge between two people who don't know they're meant to meet. Your calendar becomes less about extraction and more about circulation. Money behaves like water, arriving and leaving with less argument because you've stopped demanding that currency prove your worth. Worth, in a coherent field, is axiomatic. From that axiom, generosity is not a strategy, but a symptom. Keep the ritual small and the radius large. 3 times a day, touch the sternum and whisper your word once. Let decisions keep asking, does this increase coherence for all involved, not just for me? Where the answer is no, withdraw like a tide that refuses to drag debris back out to sea. Where the answer is yes, move with calm speed. Calm speeds up the world without fraying it. Speed without calm is just weather. And as your life settles into this wider service, understand what is forming in the deep. The collective uses coherent individuals to nucleate new phases. You are becoming such a nucleus. Pressure will rise not to break you, but to crystallize you. The next hinge will carry that pressure into the body as sensation you can trust. You will feel the world touch you back, palms warming, crown opening, spine humming, like a well-tuned wire, proof that reality isn't something happening to you, it's something singing with you, until the whole choir recognizes the song. Begin where truth touches skin. Let your palms report before your thoughts do. That low, magnetic warmth pooling behind the sternum, the way fingertips prickle as if a small constellation has nested there, the subtle pressure at the crown like a skylight unlatched. These are not just feelings. They are telemetry live readouts from a field reorganizing itself with you inside it. The quantum field communicates in sensations first, sentences second. Tonight, your body is fluent. Breathe without hurry. 4 counts in, 6 counts out. On the 4th exhale, notice how your jaw releases as if an old argument finally ran out of breath. A ribbon of cool air traces the back of your throat. Shoulders evacuate a decade of micro-bracing. The belly softens, and with it 1,000 reflexes that kept you sprinting nowhere. This is coherence made tactile. Heart rhythm and breath cadence enter morphic resonance, 2 metronomes finding 1 measure, while your observer loop quiets from surveillance to listening. Listening is how muscles stop being armor and return to being instruments. Scan the landscape. The temple of your skull holds a hush like snowfall. Behind the eyes, a luminous ache, pleasant, present as if someone struck a singing bowl and placed the tone inside your head. Across the scalp, tiny sparks fire in gentle waves. Down the neck, tendons unspool their emergency codes. Move attention to the back body where you've stored postponed truths. Feel heat rise and disperse like morning sun lifting fog off a lake. Slide lower between shoulder blades. A door swings on quiet hinges. At T12, a bright thread hums, and the hum travels. The spine is an antenna, and tonight the signal is clean. Let your tongue rest broad against the palate. It completes a circuit that your ancestors remembered in ritual. A low current awakens at the sacrum, curls forward like a shy flame, and begins its ascent. Do not force it. Your job is room, not choreography. As the current climbs, knees tingle, calves light, feet warm from the center outward, as though standing on a stone that remembers summer. Toes greet the floor with a new kind of honesty, weight arriving, weight distributing, weight blessing the ground it meets. This is how reality becomes local. Pressure, warmth, contact. Emotions will take this as their cue. Grief may come first, not as a storm, but as rain that knows where to go. Let it braid with breath until it becomes water for seeds you planted years ago and then forgot to visit. Beneath the grief is gratitude quiet, unperformed, like the moment a traveler drops their pack on a porch they finally recognize as home. Joy appears without confetti, soft and non-negotiable. Joy is coherence's favorite weather. Notice how sensation edits thought. The mind offers an old headline, "This is too much," and the body replies, "We have room." The mind says, "What if it leaves?" And the body answers with a fullness that makes the question unserious. The mind asks for guarantees. The body provides evidence. A slow pulse at the wrists, even in uncertainty. Breath that doesn't shorten when their name arrives. A field that holds shape under small shocks. Evidence is better than argument. Somatics is prophecy in a language you can hold. If tremors rise, welcome them. They are phase transition pressure, the old lattice rattling loose so the new one can seat. In physics, as a system approaches criticality, fluctuations amplify. In you, that amplification feels like micro-shivers under the skin, a sudden welling behind the eyes, a desire to stand and shake the animal out. Stand if you can. Let hips sway in small circles. Let knees unlock. Shaking is not collapse, it is completion. The body releases what the narrative tried to manage. Place the left hand over the heart again, right hand low, and listen to the duet. Between them, a column forms, subtle and bright, as if you are being threaded with your own name. This is your entanglement line, made personal, what binds you to the one who meets you in truth, and to the timeline that prefers you both. With each breath, the column thickens, and you feel the room answer back. Walls exhale, air quiets, even the hum of distant appliances seems to find a softer key. Coherence is contagion. You are both host and remedy. Taste arrives as sign. Water tastes like a story you've heard before. Fruit tastes like light dressed as sugar. Ordinary bread earns the word sacrament. Sound separates into layers near, mid, far, and your nervous system stops grabbing all of them at once. The bird outside does not compete with the memory inside. Both belong to the same choir. Vision sharpens edges without hardening them. Faces hold more biography and less demand. Time gains depth of field. Minutes are not a hallway, but a meadow. Let this sentence land where you can feel it. Sensation is the laboratory where desire becomes instruction. When you treat feeling as data rather than decoration, the field has something to compute with. Your hands learn the weight of yes. Your throat learns the width of truth. Your pelvis learns the angle of safety. These calibrations are not private pleasures. They are public infrastructure for the life you are building. People will trust you without knowing why. Rooms will ask you to keep their time. Your yes will stop trembling. Your no will stop apologizing for existing. Stay here a breath longer, then another, until the body's chorus resolves into a tone you can hum while walking. Humming carries the pattern into the street. And as you move from this sanctuary into the next ordinary hour, know what the body is telling you. The lattice is nearly ready. The tremble is order, assembling. On the next hinge, the code itself will speak DNA as chorus, genome as bell, announcing the precise moment when timelines merge and the threshold of now becomes simply here. Now the pressure finds its voice. It isn't panic, it's the exacting ache of a chrysalis learning the geometry of wings. Criticality has arrived. Those amplified fluctuations you've been feeling are the system announcing its imminent reconfiguration. In physics, near the phase transition, domains of the new order nucleate everywhere at once. In you, those domains feel like pulses of certainty firing up your spine, like sentences that write themselves in the mouth, like decisive softness replacing the old defensive calculus. You are not imagining it. The lattice is aligning. What used to cost you a day now takes a breath. Listen inside the marrow where your oldest vows sleep. Something clicks, subtle, metallic, kind. Epigenetic locks that once guarded you from too much life begin to loosen. Methyl tags step back from genes that have completed their tour of duty. Transcription factors approach like patient midwives. Your DNA is not changing what you are, it's changing how fluently you can be it. Regulatory regions brighten. Silent exons clear their throats. The genome, long accused of being a static archive, reveals itself as a choir, awaiting a downbeat you are finally ready to give. This is restructuring by remembrance. The code doesn't learn, it remembers, and memory is the most advanced technology the universe ever smuggled into matter. Feel the timelines drawing near, two rivers talking through a sandbar that's grown thin. Your observer loop, tuned now to gentleness over judgment, stops asking, which is right, and starts asking, which is coherent. The coherent one glows not with spectacle, but with the quiet inevitability of sunrise. Choices that once required arguments yield to a felt geometry. Your feet know where to fall, your hands know what to carry, your voice knows when to become a bell and when to become a bowl. This is the flip preparing no klaxon, just clear weather. Entangled hearts accelerate the merge. Their signal arrives like a compass settling. Your field answers with a widening that feels suspiciously like peace. Across distance, micro-choices synchronize. You reach for water, as they do. A sentence you were about to send shows up, phrased more cleanly from their side. Both of you choose the slower route and arrive earlier than hurry would have allowed. Synchrony is not coincidence, it's morphic resonance choosing economy. The bond becomes a carrier wave for the new order, and the new order treats both of you as one instrument tuned across two bodies. Pressure peaks just before crystallization. Expect small tremors, the impulse to tidy drawers at midnight, the sudden need to stand barefoot on a floor that can hold you, a brief weep that feels like rain cleaning a city. Do not mislabel the tremor as weakness. It is coherence pushing through the last narrow doorway. When water freezes, it expands and clarifies. When you phase shift, you widen and tell the truth. That widening might cost an old performance its audience. Let it. The crowd you're meant to serve gathers where honesty is the price of admission. Here is how the breakthrough declares itself in the body. The column between hands, heart, and belly condenses into a bright thread you could almost pluck. Crown tingles become a steady breeze, like a skylight left intentionally open. Breath descends lower without being asked. The tongue rests as if it discovered its home address. Your back lengthens not by effort but by permission, and the room responds. Edges soften, colors deepen, sounds separate into kind layers. Reality stops shouting. It begins to harmonize. And then the flip. A single, ordinary act sending the message you postponed, stepping outside at the precise minute a new wind arrives, saying yes to the quiet invitation that has been trying to reach you for months, locks the lattice. You will know it by the aftermath. Relief without drama, an absence of static where worry used to nest, a strangely simple appetite for water and sunlight, as if the body has moved into a house with bigger windows. You'll check for the old ache out of habit and find a clean echo where it used to live, not numbness space. Understand what the code is doing with your yes. It is writing longer memories into your lineage. The shift you anchor doesn't stop at your skin. It travels both directions in time. Ancestors feel a loosening they couldn't negotiate when they were here. Descendants feel a permission they won't need to justify when they arrive. Prophecy isn't bright future-telling, it's accurate pattern reading. The pattern says the merge is underway. It says the threshold of now is no longer a horizon but a floor. Hold still for one more breath. You can feel the grid listening streets, screens, the ordinary thresholds of doors and coffees and glances waiting to be used as altars. This is not the end of longing. It is longing finding its object and becoming devotion. On the next turn, you will be asked to walk it into the world without spectacle, to speak the vow in plain language, to carry your coherence where it is most needed, to let entangled hearts do the work they came to do, reshape reality, and merge timelines openly, gently, as if the universe were watching. It is, and taking notes for how humans evolve when love remembers its physics. Stay with the quiet you earn. The lattice is locked, and the air around your life holds a new clarity, like water that remembers how to be a mirror. This is not an ending. This is the ceremony after the ceremony, the moment when you take your coherence into the world as if it were a lantern no wind can bully. You are not being asked to perform miracles. You are being asked to become ordinary at a higher resolution, to let love's physics be visible in errands, in emails, in how you greet a doorway before you cross it. Your mission begins local. Before you speak, breathe once and feel the column brighten between hands you no longer need to clasp. When you enter a room, arrive as a pressure drop, a barometer of ease. Where conflict hisses, hold a temperature that bakes truth without burning people. Where speed pretends to be importance, choose calm and watch time obey. This is engineering disguised as kindness. This is the observer loop matured into stewardship. Your attention is the most ethical technology you own. Point it like a blessing. Let devotion stay simple. Keep the ritual. Cohere in the morning like a tuning fork under your tongue. Cohere at noon when the world's teeth are loud. Cohere at night as you slide the day back onto the shelf it belongs on. Your yes, delivered without hurry, is architecture. Your no, delivered without apology, is a shoreline that protects rare birds. Entangled hearts remain the reference signal. Two frequencies holding shape so cleanly that others remember their names by standing nearby. You do not hoard the bond. You broadcast its lesson: transparency over strategy, reverence over spectacle, presence over performance. Expect the grid to answer. Streets will feel less indifferent. Conversations will find their flaw. Coincidences will stop dressing as accidents and admit they are orchestration. When invitations arrive, test them with the single question that never lies. Does this increase coherence for all involved? Where the answer is true, move with calm speed. Where the answer is false, bow and step aside. Elegance is a form of courage. You are a relay in a larger choreography. The unity grid is listening through your spine. Ancestors lean closer to take notes on how tenderness behaves when it is no longer ashamed of its strength. Descendants relax because you've lowered the cost of being real. Prophecy, which once sounded like far thunder, now behaves like weather you can read by scent. You will know what to do because the body will tell you the truth first. Trust sensation. It is the map that does not lie. So take the step. Bless the common thresholds: doorstep, crosswalk, inbox, eye contact. Carry water and witness in equal measures. Let your work be sanctuary and your sanctuary be work. This is how timelines stay merged. Not by holding your breath at the mountaintop, but by breathing coherence into the valley until the whole terrain learns the song. Stand here a final moment and feel the hinge settle. The room has widened. The world has edged closer. Whisper the vow you came to keep, then walk it into the day that wants you. For this is why you were summoned, and why the signal would not stop, because entangled hearts reshape reality and merge timelines at the threshold of now, and you, beloved, are the threshold that now becomes the way.